May I have your attention, please? The prepared speech session will start in a few minutes. Please be ready and wait for a while. Thank you.
13時20分よりプリペアードスピーチの部を開始いたします。もうしばらくお待ちくださいませ。
May I have your attention, please? Now, we would like to open the prepared speech session. Let us welcome the first speaker. The first speaker is Ms. Ako Inoue from Tsudan University. She will deliver her speech under the title, Let Tadpoles Free. Let Tadpoles Free. Then Ms. Inoue, please unmute, turn on your camera, and take us for a drive.
Okay, sorry. Sure. Thank you, Master of Ceremony and Honorable Judges. Good afternoon, everyone. Of course. There are 4 girls at this table. Hey, what's going on with your boyfriend? Are there any good boys in your school? Everyone talks in turn. Next is my turn. I want to escape right now. Hey, Ako, did you find anyone good? Here comes my turn. I might be interested in a boy in the same class. What, really? Did you add his line? You should confess your feelings to him. Why don't you change the topic? Why? Please tell us more. Thanks for your advice, but I really want to keep this relationship a secret, so that's all I can say. Then, what about you? This is the most awkward time in my life. I'm really uncomfortable when my friends are talking about their love. Today, I'd like to talk about a somewhat strange type of love, because many people in this society are suffering from the prejudice caused by a stereotype that says love is only dating with someone. So today, I want you to realize that love values are diverse. After my speech, I want more people to freely enjoy their love without worrying about anything. I hope my speech will drive a change in your notion. By the way, why do I want to avoid girls' talk? The reason is I always get flock phenomenon, so I don't get close to my crush. Flock phenomenon is when people have romantic feeling for someone, but they don't want their feelings to be returned. Whether they're feeling happy, they feel disgusted or scared when the person you are fond of starts interested in them. It's similar to the feeling that you had for your favorite idols or celebrities. You are happy just looking at them, so you don't think about approaching them. It's enough to pull up unilaterally. This phenomenon is named after the fairy tale, King of Flocks. Once upon a time, there was a prince who had been turned into a flock, and he helped a princess. The two fell in love, but the princess is not very good at flocks, So when she reached the limit of her patience, she threw the frog to the wall. At that moment, the magic was broken, and he returned to the wonderful prince, and the two were united. However, every time he approached her, the princess felt like a former frog and suffered an unacceptable conflict. In this way, when the person you are fond of approaches you, you get the disagreeable feeling called frog phenomenon. There are several reasonable reasons why this phenomenon occurs, such as low self-esteem or sudden loss of personal space. But the most plausible reason is this phenomenon often happens in girls because of their psychological structure, since females must protect their body from outside enemies. I actually took a survey on Instagram, and out of 56 girls and 7 boys, 69% of girls and 0% of boys answered that they had or are still having trouble with this phenomenon. Shinsuke Fujisawa, a professor at Atomic University, also explained that approximately 70% of girls had experienced this phenomenon. So, what is the suffering or worried thing of frog phenomenon? That is, third parties break our pace and one romance ends because of the pressure around us. Though we who get this phenomenon don't want to get closer to the other person, sometimes we have to have a feeling of love due to the measures around us. For example, when people around us find out that we have some curiosity with someone, they try to get the distance closer. Actually, I was made to confess to a boy, even if I didn't want us to be together. Then, why do many people try to get two people together? The reason is we tend to think that the goal of love is to date or get married and have a child, since this type of love is normal for us. Take a look at the marriage systems or advertisements, safe home weight plans, tax mechanisms, and so on. Don't you think that our daily lives are centered around having a partner with men and women? Therefore, when we see someone like somebody, we try to connect them without thought. So, what is the solution to this problem? The answer is really clear and simple. Let's accept the different types of love. As our first step, we can start this by knowing and understanding frog phenomenon. When a third party intervenes and raises the love feeling of their crush, the tadpoles will become frogs. So, when your friend tells you, "I'm comfortable with this space," please let her or him stay there. Please don't force your view of love just because you think it's not normal. If there are 100 people, there are surely 100 types of love. Actually, Osaka University announced that 75% of women and 57% of men affirmed the question. It's a pain to be forced into the idea of love supremacism. Thus, if you are still a love supremacist, it's too late and you'll hurt someone. Please imagine, whether you accept or not various forms of love, the world will continue to move. Whether you do or not, the sun will rise again. However, if you accept, those who are suffering will be saved. Then, where are the elements you don't accept? After I knew this phenomenon, I could understand why I suddenly hate the person I was fond of. And also, my friends started to understand my view of love, sympathizing with there is also a love affair that does nothing. Everyone, why don't you accept this unique phenomenon too and let tadpoles be free? Why won't you create any frogs and keep them freely? I wish all people in this world can enjoy their own love. Thank you for listening.
We have a question and answer period. Mr. Miller, please.
Thank you, Ms. Inoue.
Thank you for listening.
I enjoyed your speech.
Thank you.
Okay, I have many questions for you.
Okay.
First, let's see. I want to ask you about the frog phenomenon. You said that the frog phenomenon happens because of negative things, for example, low self-esteem, or we want to protect ourselves, these kinds of things. So, excuse me, is this phenomenon something that needs to be cured? And if so, how do we cure it?
Okay, thank you for a nice question. I don't think that this phenomenon should be always overcome, since like to love someone is our freedom. So I don't think we always have to fix or overcome this phenomenon. But there are some ways to overcome this phenomenon, and I want to mention two things here. The first one is my friend's story, and the second one is the website story. And my friends used to always have this phenomenon, but since she didn't decide any relationship from the beginning, she could overcome this phenomenon. Like if suppose we first met, and if I decide our relationship is just a friend, that would be obstacle us. But if I don't decide any relationship with us, that she could accept the love feeling. So I think not to decide the relationship from the beginning is a useful way. And the second one is that I read a website that was written by a boyfriend who has a girlfriend who had frog phenomenon before, and he thought the frog phenomenon was their problem, not only her problem. And they pursued the causal reason why this phenomenon happened. And they found that the reason why this phenomenon happened was the boyfriend face was different from the expectations, so that she had frog phenomenon. So they pursued the causal reason and overcome. So they overcome. So sorry for my long answer, but I don't think that this phenomenon is always overcome, but there are some way to overcome this phenomenon.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that was a good answer. So hopefully we have time for one more.
Okay.
You mentioned, there are 100 different kinds of different types of love, and I agree with that. Could you tell us a couple of examples of different kinds of love besides the romantic, let's get married and have a family, and the frog phenomenon? What are some other examples?
Okay, so there are tremendous kinds of sexuality, and the other day, my friends confessed to me I would be a demi-romantic person, and demi-romantic person have the love feeling when they feel the strong relationship with the person. So the sex is sex is irrelevant for them, and I didn't know about the sexuality. So that was the time I realized that there are many types of love.
Okay, good, thank you. Let's see, we've got 30 seconds.
Okay.
Let's see. Oh, we're running out of time. Quickly explain the idea of love supremacism. What does that mean exactly?
Love supremacism means to think that to have a boyfriend or to get married is the best way. To love the person or to be connected with someone is the happiness that we have. I think that is the definition of love supremacism.
Okay, like it's the only way.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Inoue.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller and Ms. Inoue. Now is the judging time.
Let us welcome the second speaker. The second speaker is Ms. Senri Muramatsu from St. Paul University. She will deliver her speech under the title, Flowers to Me. Flowers to Me. Then Ms. Muramatsu, please unmute and turn on your camera and take us for a drive.
Sure. Thank you, Master of Ceremonies and Honorable Judges. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, please look back on your precious memories. Your entrance and graduation ceremony, birthday, wedding, and funeral. What were decorated in these commemoration events? Also, recently, what did you give on Mother's Day? Red, blue, yellow, green, pink. So many colors are staring at you every moment. I'm sure you see them in your everyday life. Yes, beautiful and brilliant thing. Flowers. Last spring, I went to the flower shop to buy carnations for my Mother's Day. I was surrounded by them and filled by presents then. However, a big trash can caught my eye. A lot of beautiful flowers were thrown away in it. Why are the flowers destined to be abandoned even if they have precious lives? I had feelings of discontent since then. So today, I'm standing here to let you know the reality of many flowers that have lost their way. After my speech, I strongly hope that there are always flowers in your daily life. Flower loss. Have you ever heard this word? Actually, a large number of flowers are discarded because they are unsold at every market. Sadly, they lose their lives out of the reach of their customers. So this is called flower loss. I guess most of you are familiar with food loss. However, the amount of flower waste quantity is 3 times that of food loss, about 80 million tons per year. That's so serious, right? Unfortunately, about 30 to 40% of total production goes to the trash every day. So it's natural that many of them are thrown away in the flower shops around you. These days, this situation makes the flower industry even more serious. According to the Municipal Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries, the purchase price of them per family has been decreased 30% in the last 20 years. Also, such various events has been cancelled and postponed due to the recent COVID-19. More and more flower losses are resulting than expected. No matter how the flower farmers, so many beautiful of them, declining demand makes them unpriced in every market. As a result, they are not only falling into dangerous situation, but also their deficits are expanding. Then, what leads to the disposal of various flowers? There is distance between flowers and us. Today, our consumption style is changing from possession to use. With the development of technology, we are looking for something more convenient. Our life gets busier, and we want something more comfortable and useful. So some of you tend to hesitate, don't spend money to them and that die soon. You don't have time to care for them. More and more people cannot easily incorporate to them in your daily life. We may be moving away from them. However, I really want many people to know the hidden power of them. Flowers have the power to heal our hearts. Their happy hormone increase our motivation and bring vitality to life. They naturally relieve our confusion, tension, and anxiety. They bring richness and energy to yourselves. Then, what shall we do to shorten the distance between flowers and us? Go to the flower shop? But I know it's a little difficult. However, surprisingly, we have wonderful opportunity to adopt them into everyday life. That is flower subscription. Yes, Subsuku. This is a very popular service right now, such as music, movie, and drama. You can enjoy it even with flowers. This is a delivery of them to your home on a regular basis. Once you register, you can get not only your favorite flowers, but also they selected them by professionals constantly. You can start home only 500 yen a month, so you will live with them comfortably and affordably. Now we spend more time at home than before, so the number of residents has increased 100,000 people. Also, this operation is carried at various flower shops, so it can list the same many of them. Flower subscription is adapted to modern lifestyle. And what is more, you can get into the habit of buying flowers more easily than usual. According to the most popular service, Blooming Life, it has suppressed more than 800,000 flower waste. For me, to be honest, I didn't have opportunity to start with them. However, thanks to flower subscription, I always feel they are close to me. So, with our subscription, we can save them by only using our smartphone. Everyone, please look back on your precious memories again. What do you think if all the flowers disappear in your daily life? Can you imagine the scenes without beautiful flowers? It's impossible. Our lives are knowingly enriched by them everyday life. So, I cannot forget the beautiful flowers, even they could still be loved. We are in an environment where we can see the future, but flower is the same too. Even we have to take social distance each other, but we can shorten the distance between flowers and us by easy way. So, why don't you give them to yourselves? That is flowers to me. So many colorful flowers are shining up now in this moment. All of them are waiting, and I'm glad to be with your hands. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Ms. Muramatsu. Now we have a question and answer period. Mr. Miller, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Muramatsu.
Thank you for listening.
My very first question is, what kind of flowers are you holding?
This is Rose.
Are they real?
Yeah, here.
Okay,
Yesterday.
okay, my first real question is, you say that the florists, they have to throw away, a lot of unused flowers. Is there something that they can do instead of putting them in the trash? Any ideas?
So I have one idea. So there are lost flowers, so change into dry flowers. So yeah, so dry flowers is so we can make it very easy way. So this one, so it's conditioned so about 1 week. So this flower will be dry flowers, and this flower will have long breeze. So it is very easy way to sustainable.
Okay, yeah, that's a good idea. And you said that there has been a declining demand for flowers for the last 10 years. So why don't the flower farmers grow something different?
Sorry, one more, please.
Flower demand has been declining for 10 years, yeah? Shouldn't the flower farmers do something different? Like, I don't know, grow vegetables or something?
So it's a difficult question. So these days, flower farmers are declining and decreased. So we have to take action to support them. But yeah, I don't know. Flower farmers have a different style. So sorry, I cannot answer.
That's okay. That's okay. My last question is, I'm not really interested in having a flower subscription, but is there something else I can do?
Yeah. So only 500 yen a month. So we can save them. Flower farmers, not only flower roses, but also the flower shops people. So it is very convenient tool, and we can use not on we can use wherever and whenever. So it is very convenient, I think.
And can I get something different from flowers? Like, I don't really want flowers. Can I get plants or something like that?
Yeah. So this is a flower subscription has a many kind. So plants and so decorate. So a lot of kind. So we can select them. So easy.
Oh, okay. Okay. So even if I don't want flowers, I can get something different. Okay, just one last quick question. I'm just wondering, have you heard of something called language of flowers? In Japanese, it's called hanakotoba.
Yeah.
Have you heard about that? What tell the audience about that.
So hanakotoba is a very popular word. So especially this encourage our heart, and we can get encouraged and a lot of positive words, positive thinking. So it is very popular and important thing, I think.
Okay, thank you very much. We're out of time. Thank you, Ms. Muramatsu.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mila and Ms. Muramatsu. Now is the judging time.
Let us welcome the third speaker. The third speaker is Mr. Hayato Kojima from Keio University. He will deliver his speech under the title, Put Yourself into His Shoes. Put yourself into his shoes. But Mr. Kojima, please unmute, turn on your camera, and take us for a drive.
Thank you, Master of Ceremonies and honorable judges. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. One Thursday afternoon, in the living room, alone with my mother, talking about how she was worried about my sister's 12-year-old problems. Field trip, piano practice, middle school entrance exams, the usual. Then she started talking about a particular friend my sister has in school. She told me how this girl laughed as she saw another girl in her class make a fool of herself in front of the popular boys. What would your gut reaction be when you hear a story such as this? Surely a person laughing at another person is not a good thing, right? Of course not. No, the speech is not going to be saying that laughing at other people is okay, but about a cognitive bias that may change the way you see the story. Correspondence bias is a human tendency to explain outcomes of situations by finding its cause in humans, disregarding situational factors. Let me give you an example. Let's say that I was giving quizzes to my friend, and he got only 3 out of 10 of them correct. In this situation, which one do you think has more general knowledge, is smarter, me or him? If your gut reaction was that I have more general knowledge, then you are very human. A Stanford University study showed that participants in a psychology experiment showed a similar tendency as well. However, in this situation, I had the situational advantage because I was giving questions from my storage of knowledge. Now consider that if the roles were switched and he was giving me questions from his field of expertise, I would most likely do terrible as well. Due to correspondence bias, we can say that humans can't make proper judgments only based on outcomes we see. If correspondence bias is something that is very human, something that could happen to everyone, then why should we care? The answer comes in 2 folds. That you can't assess situations properly, and that you may hurt people due to it. In the case of my sister's friend, I found that laughing at another person or finding pleasure in seeing another person fail and possibly making herself look better in comparison was a rather normal human reaction. Now, another person's misfortune tastes like honey, right? But in that situation, my mother was fully considering telling my sister to stay away from her friend based on the assessment that she was evil. And my apologies, based on the assessment that she was evil. However, to me, it looked like she just reacted in a way unfit for a situation, just accidentally, much like how a 12-year-old would be prone to doing because they don't know any better. Correspondence bias, like many other cognitive biases, occur because of how the human brain operates, but that does not mean that we can't work around it. If we have a tendency to ignore situational factors, then we just have to make a mental effort to consider them. Understanding that my mother wasn't assessing my sister's friend based on the fact that humans can make human errors, not necessarily pertaining to one's character, I told her to put herself into her shoes. Consider the situation. Can we really say that she was evil? If we were in that situation, as 12-year-olds, would we have been able to react better? My mother thought about it for a little bit and said, you know what? You are right. She did something wrong. But I'm not going to tell my daughter to stay away from her. I believe a lesson that we can all learn from this is that putting yourself into someone else's shoes is a way we can make more comprehensive judgments on another person. If I was in his situation, would I have been able to do better? Was that really his fault? Is a question we should all ask before making judgments on another person. Consider the other players, cultural influences, rules, restraints, anything that can possibly change the outcome of a given situation. If you most likely couldn't do better, just saying you did something wrong, you should fix it, may not necessarily be the best thing to say. Now, you might say that even if we do put ourselves into someone else's shoes, we can't become that person. We will not be able to access every single information that has influenced that result. However, the knowledge that there may be factors that we have not considered is beneficial enough, since with that knowledge, we can combat it through gathering information, asking questions in order to make more comprehensive decisions, not to make rash judgments. A guy failed his university course. Before you tell him to study more or give him tips on how to study, what if he said that he didn't have time to study due to having to work to put food on the table? One Thursday afternoon, in the living room, alone with my mother, talking about how she was worried about a particular child at the daycare she works at. This child reaches out at other children and makes them uncomfortable, sometimes resulting in them crying. But my mother was not the same person as she was before, and she told me the story. Rather than telling me that he may be violent, she told me how she found out that he found comfort in human contact, in a way, a hugger, if you will. In the process of trying to comfort his friends, he had done the exact opposite because his 2-year-old self did not understand personal space yet. At least one person in the world seems to have found this lesson one worth learning. Why don't you try the same and put yourself into someone else's shoes? Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Kojima. We have a question and answer period. Mr. Miller, please.
Hello, Mr. Kojima.
Hello.
Thank you very much for your speech. I have my first question, just quickly, could you explain in more detail about the experiment at Stanford University?
Okay, so...
And why it's important.
Right, so the reason why this study at Stanford is important is because it proved that correspondence bias exists. It proves that, people, when they look at results, they can't look at situations and judge, in that case, who was smarter, because so the experiment basically asked the similar question, except, it wasn't just me and my friend, it was Mr. A and Mr. B, and it showed similar results. So that's why I believe that it's significant.
Okay, thank you. And how can we become better about putting ourselves in other people's shoes? How can we remember to do that?
So one thing that I personally do is that before I try to say that someone is doing something wrong, or when I see someone fail in a sense, I look, in a way, I analyze what could have happened to have, made that result come true. And if in one of those simulations, it turns out that, everyone would have failed in that situation. Like, stuff like that sometimes happens. I asked someone else, if that was true. And if it was, then that person probably did nothing wrong and the failure probably wasn't at his fault.
Mhm.
And if it was his fault, then I just tell him to, fix that. Because, I'm not saying that nothing is due to one's fault. I'm just saying that sometimes situations may connect to a result.
Mhm. Thank you. And you gave us some examples of what happens, like when your mother did this, and kind of on a personal level. But I'm assuming this can happen on a larger scale. For example, an entire community has this, or even a nation or something like that. And so in that case, what kind of problems might occur?
Okay, so I feel like the most blatant example was in the corona pandemic, where some people during like the beginning era of the pandemic was actually getting mad at people for, let's say taking walks or going to work, because, apparently that those things can be done remotely. And for example, going out on a walk is a way to exercise, which is something that is really needed for your health. And if, uh, people are able to, make sure that they won't get corona during that walk, I don't think we can really fault anyone for that. And also for people who needs to work, of course, there are jobs that can be done remotely. And for those, you should be doing them at home. But of course, let's say, selling food and things like that, those things can only be, done through going to work. And, of course, people need to put food on the table. So if it was between starving or, taking the risk of getting corona, I believe that most people will not want to starve and work. So, there are things that we can't blame, but, we did see people just, going at it, just, saying bad things about people who are going out just in a blanket way.
Mhm.
So those kinds of things I feel like happen all the time, but that was the most blatant example that I could come up with.
Yeah, that's a good example. What could we have done to try to make people understand other people's situations? Is there something like the government could have done, or?
So it comes in two ways. So why did this happen, and how can we fix it? And if in the process of trying to find out why something happened, it turns out that it was something that is very needed, maybe in a social level, or maybe in like a human kind of life form type of level. If it comes down to that, then we could find out that, it's something that maybe something else should be done. Maybe society is the one that needs to change, because it's impossible for like an individual to change. So we need to kind of look at things in that sort of sense for those situations. Of course, I need to reiterate that sometimes it is up to the individual to fix certain problems. So, we can't just say that society is bad for everything, but yeah, I'm sorry that my answer just rambled on for a little bit.
That's okay. Thank you very much. It was interesting, and we're out of time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller and Mr. Kojima. Now it's the judging time.
Let us welcome the first speaker. The first speaker is Mr. Kota Watanabe from Hosei University. He will deliver his speech under the title, Open Your Heart, Make a New Start. Open your heart, make a new start. Then Mr. Watanabe, please unmute and turn on your camera and take us for a drive.
Sure. Thank you, Master of Ceremonies and Honorable Judges. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Pain don't hurt the same, I know. The rain I travel feels alone. But I'm moving till my legs give out. When I see my tears melt in the snow. But I don't wanna cry, I don't wanna cry anymore. I wanna feel alive, I don't wanna die anymore. These lyrics are part of a rap song by a famous hip-hop artist named Logic. This song saved my life. If I hadn't made this song, I might have killed myself. When I was in high school, I was a student with difficulty doing everything. Despite my best effort, I couldn't keep up with the others. I was very worried about it. Moreover, my classmates attached a stigma to me like I was a dropout student. I was humiliated in front of classmates, and sometimes I was told to deny myself. It was mentally painful at that point. One day, a classmate asked me, "Are you happy to be alive?" From this moment, I began to wonder I was worth living. Then, I told my parents that I needed a break from school. But I couldn't tell my pain exactly. So my parents told me, "There are many people who feel more painful than you." After I heard these words, I was disappointed that no one understood what I felt. I thought of jumping from the balcony of my apartment many times. I stood there for hours. I was suffering, but I couldn't talk about my pain. But now, I can deliver this speech in front of you because I was able to stop killing myself a few years ago. So today, I will give a speech on how important making the press to talk about our pain. All of us will have painful experiences in the future. If you feel the pain in the future, I want you to remember my speech. After this speech, I hope all of you can make such a press and be yourself. There is a big issue that many of Japanese people cannot share about their pain. Imagine you are bullied in your school or work. Can you talk about it to your parents or friends easily? Almost all we will say, no. According to Japan Federation of Bar Association, about 2,000 Japanese people over 20 years answered. It is difficult to share about their pain, like harassment, bullying, and uncomfortable human relationships. And according to research from Tokyo Prefecture, 3 out of 5 students answered. They can talk to anyone when they are being bullied. As you can see from this data, it is difficult for us to open our minds when we feel mental pain. If you cannot share about your pain, you will feel isolated. After that, you will take your pain on yourself. In the worst case, it can derive to commit suicide like me a few years ago. Actually, according to Japan Foundation, 3 out of 4 people who have thought of committing suicide answered. They could not talk to anybody. Therefore, this problem continues to become in our daily life. Why don't many people open their heart to others? The main reason is everyone cannot understand and admit people's pain. Specifically, we feel that it is a shame to talk about our pain. First, for gentlemen, do you have experience in your childhood when you are whining, you are upset? Don't be whining. You are a man. And for ladies, under this situation, you might be told, you women get emotional very quickly. I'm scared of you. From our childhood, we tend to think opening what we feel shows our weakness or negative images. This pressure from society makes us think our pain is wrong. Even if we are feeling pain and having worry in our mind, we are afraid of being denied what we feel around us. We compare our pain with others. That is why people rarely worry about telling what is their negative emotions. However, I was lucky because I made a song that I introduced at the beginning of my speech. In this lyric, Logic said, pain don't hurt the same. Then I understood that not admitting my pain is wrong and talk about my pain is no shame. After that, I decided to confess my pain to my best friend. What is the way to help people who feel mental painful? Since pain don't hurt the same, it is wrong that you compare your pain with others. It is difficult to fully understand how they feel, but it is not difficult to be sad by them. Then you have to avoid saying, there are many people who feel more painful than you. In this situation, you had better say like, thank you for talking to me. You hang in there. In this way, you can choose the words which embrace their pain. If you don't open your mental heart, what should you do? In the first place, it is wrong that you compare your pain with others, because pain don't hurt the same. It is not shame, accept your pain and talk about it. In this way, you can open your mental heart more easily. Actually, Yuki Takeda, who is a famous Japanese psychological counselor, said, accepting your feeling is the best way to relieve your mental pain. I was helped by the rap song and a friend who was tired with my pain. I felt a sense of relief. Now, I'm enjoying my life with great friends from Jose SS. Every night before I sleep, I feel happy to be alive. I succeeded to make a new start. Ladies and gentlemen, pain don't hurt the same. You have to keep this sentence in your mind. You can be yourself, and also you can save your life and loved one. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Watanabe. Now we have a question and answer period. Mr. Miller, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Watanabe. That was a very personal thing to share, and you're very brave to share it with us, so thank you. So my first question for you, you said, when you went to your parents to share your feelings, the first thing they said was, there are other people who feel more pain than you do. So what do you think your parents should have said?
Okay, so in my opinion, they should have said, as I mentioned in my speech, thank you for talking to me. You hang in there. I wished they would say these words to me.
Yeah, thank you. And when you went and talked to your friend, what exactly did your friend say to you?
So he said to me, just thank you, and like you hang in there. So, but I know you are feeling, and I know what you are paying.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt a sense of relief at that time. Yes.
Okay, so like you told us how if we feel pain, we should open up to other people, but you know, maybe we need to be aware of our friends or family members
Yes.
who are feeling pain. So are there some signs that to look for that might tell us our friends or family members are feeling painful but not talking about it?
Yes. So yeah, it is difficult question for me because it is too difficult to find signs to signs like who has pain in their minds. But in my opinion, this solution will be we have to say a words like how's it going? Do you have worried in your mind? So let's talk each other, or don't be afraid talking about your feeling like that. It is the best way to solve this problem.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And you know, some people maybe they don't have a good relationship with their family. They
Yes.
might not have friends. So for people like that, what are some ideas about how can they get help?
Sorry, could you say that again, please?
Sure. You know, some people maybe can't talk to their family. They can't, or maybe they don't have any close friends. So how can they get help?
Yeah, so just listen to he or she more carefully. But it is not not to fully understand how they feel, but just think, admitting their pain. Like, yeah, thank you for talking to me, or you're hungry there. Yeah, you have to say these words to he or she who have mental painful.
Okay. And at what point does a person need to go get professional help, like go talk to a psychiatrist?
So yeah, in my opinion, yes. So in the first place, so yeah, in my opinion, so like psychological counselor is the best way to confess their pain. So because so they are professionals. So but they don't miss the sign to their mental painful.
Okay, we're out of time. Thank you very much, Mr. Watanabe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Miller, and Mr. Watanabe. Now is the judging time.
The first half of the prepared speech session is all over. The distinguished judges and the questioner are going to leave this session. Please give them a big round of applause. Next, the speakers will lead this session. We will have an intermission for 15 minutes. We will begin the later half of the prepared speech session at 2:35. So please be ready for it by 2:30. Thank you.
日本語にて失礼いたします。これより15分間の休憩といたします。プリペアドスピーチ後半の部は14時35分より開始いたしますので、14時30分までにはお席の方にご着席いただきますようよろしくお願いいたします。事前にお伝えしておりましたタイムテーブルと変更がございますのでご注意くださいませ。なお、コメントシートの提出締め切りが16時55分となっております。つきましては、この休憩時間中に各種 SNS や YouTube ライブのチャット欄、また現在画面に表示しております QR コード等から提出フォームの方にアクセスいただきまして、ご記入、ご提出の方を何卒よろしくお願いいたします。ありがとうございました。
May I have your attention, please? The later half of the prepared speech session will start in a few minutes. Please be seated and wait for a while. Thank you.
14時35分より、プリペアドスピーチ後半の部を開始いたします。もうしばらくお待ちくださいませ。
May I have your attention, please? Now, we would like to open the later half of the prepared speech session. Let us welcome the fifth speaker. The fifth speaker is Ms. Yuri Imai from Takasaki City University of Economics. She will deliver her speech under the title, What Helps You Bloom? What Helps You Bloom? Then Ms. Imai, please unmute, turn on your camera, and take us for a drive.
Thank you, Master of Ceremonies and distinguished judges. Good afternoon, everyone. Bloom where you are planted. This phrase means you should find your value as a person where you are. I cherish this phrase now, but I couldn't understand its meaning until that day. Back in my high school days, I practiced hard on the basketball team. For the first 2 years or so, I thought players should take part in games and play an active role there on the court. So for me, bloom had only one meaning, to participate in games as a player. However, even after the senior year started, I couldn't become a regular member. I couldn't find myself of any value for this team. I kept thinking, I would never bloom here. I believed I would end my life here as a bud. Until that day. Now I know everyone has a value in where they are. Now I know each one of you can bloom where you're planted. So I'm going to share my idea with you about how you can bloom where you are. To start with, suppose you're the leader of a big project in your company. You think you should always take the lead in the project, but you can't come up with any good ideas and others help you. How would you feel? You'll probably feel discouraged and think, I'm such a bad leader. I'm worthless here. You see no value in yourself. Is it true? Are you really worthless? The answer is no. When people can't see any value in themselves, they are often obsessed with should be thinking or black and white thinking. With should be thinking, you always tell yourself you should or you must. Black and white thinking makes you think only one thing is good and others are bad. When you're obsessed with these two kinds of thinking, you focus on just one thing, that is the fact you cannot do something, and you cannot see there is something you can do. As a result, you lose sight of the meaning of existence, and consequently, the value of existence. Now, let me go back to my story and talk about that day. It was after regular practice on one ordinary day in spring. The captain came up to me and said, "You always practice hard. Whenever I see you work so hard, I get motivated to practice more." Her words made me realize that I was making a positive impact on someone on the team. It was a very moment everything started to change. First, my way of thinking totally changed. I became able to think there must be something I could do, even if I was not a regular member. I realized I could keep making efforts, participate in games, and also support the regular members. So I did. I kept practicing on my own outside of practice hours. When we had games, I always tried to be the first to carry the team members' bags and help them with the shooting practice. I felt I had meaning in the team, so I focused all my energy on what I could do. Then, my team members gradually changed as well. The first and second year members started to ask me for my opinion about their play. The regular members started to show me gratitude in words. For the first time, I felt my value on my team. At that time, I was able to bloom at last. Looking back on my experience, I realized that there were 3 steps in finding my value in where I was. By taking these 3 steps, everyone can find their value in where they are, and I named it AFP method. A stands for accept, F for find, and P for practice. Let's look at the method step by step. Step 1 is accept yourself as you are in where you are now. Imagine again that you're the leader of a big project. You think you should always take the lead, but in reality, you can't. When you get some advice from your subordinates, you'd feel, I have no value as a leader. However, try changing your mindset and tell yourself that I am the kind of leader who always gets good ideas from others. Like this, accept yourself as you are. Then move on to step 2, find. Try finding what you can do as such a leader now. After accepting yourself in step 1, you can now see another possibility as to what you can do. For example, as a project leader, you can reflect the ideas and opinions on the project, which may be able to motivate them. Now is the time you take step 3 and put what you found in step 2 into practice. You make the most of your team members' advice in the project. When you've come this far with AFP method, you are freed from should be and black and white thinking. You can focus on what you can do, and you can see the meaning of existence. Then you are sure to get some good responses from others, and you can find your value in where you are. Up until now, and from now on, you belong to various communities. You sometimes get trapped in the gap between your ideals and reality and may lose your value of existence. you believe you will stay as a bud and never bloom. When this happens, please try giving yourself some water called AFP method. Accept yourself in the present situation, find what you can do now, and practice it hard. Then the bud will receive nutrition called good responses from others, and the bud will turn into a flower. You have bloomed, finding your existence value. Everyone, please remember the AFP method is what helps you bloom. Accept, find, practice, and bloom where you're planted. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Imai. We have a question and answer period. Mr. Miller, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Imai, for sharing your AFP method
Thank you.
with us. My first question is about, you mentioned should be thinking and black and white thinking. So first, could you give me a specific example of should be thinking?
Thank you for your question. And should be thinking means that, yes, when, in my opinion, in my experience, I belonged to the basketball club in my high school. And at that time, I was a player, but there is two types of player. One type is they are regular player, and others don't take part in games. And I am in this part. And but if you have should be thinking in the situation, you focus on you should be a regular player, and you can note the other possibility in the team.
I see. Okay, thank you. And also, just a very quick example of black and white thinking.
Yes, sorry. Black and white thinking is, in other words, all or nothing. So, in my experience, I am the chief of speech section, and when I suppose that I cannot get feedback in the speech activity, and I felt I completely bad leader in the speech section, or with black and white thinking, I think that I'm completely bad leader. Yes, and all or nothing. So
I see.
yes.
Yeah, you're either good or bad. Nothing.
Yes. Yes.
I see. Okay, thank you. Also, you said the bud will receive nutrition called good responses from others. And then the bud turns into the flower, yeah? So does this mean we need others' good responses to feel valuable?
Yes, I think so, because if you don't any group, if you don't belong any group, you should not get any feedback from others. But most of us belong some communities, and there is your rule, I think. So if you don't get any good feedback, if you can't get any feedback, there is a possibility that you are doing what you want to do, just you want to do, but you cannot contribute to your community. So it is important to get good feedback from others.
I see. Yeah, in a group situation. I understand. Okay, thank you. Let's see, we don't have a lot of time, but maybe, so you gave us the example about your basketball team and, being head of the ESS. So can you give me one more example where you use this AFP method
Yes.
and it worked for you?
Yes. Now I belong to also handball club, and last few months ago, my my team members said to me, we wanted you to be a vice captain when I was hospitalized because I injured my leg. So at that time, at first I don't accept me because why? I wonder why I can't play handball for at least half a year. Why I will be a vice captain? I don't accept it, but I accept like that. I will be a kind of vice captain who cannot play handball, and the next step I found that I can take mental support for them without playing handball, and I practice it hard. Then I felt the meaning in my team. Yes, and I found my value in this team.
Great. Thank you very much, Ms. Imai. We are out of time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller and Ms. Imai. Now is the judging time.
Now let us welcome the sixth speaker. The sixth speaker is Mr. Sojo Nikeda from Hosei University. He will deliver his speech under the title, The True Consent. The True Consent. Then Mr. Ikeda, please unmute and turn on your camera and take us for a drive.
Sure. Thank you, Masters of Ceremony and honorable judges. Hello, everyone. I have a question for you. What is sexual consent? Maybe you've never thought about it. Last year, I had a chance to reflect on the word for the first time. When I went for the drinks with a female friend, she confessed sex issues regarding her own relationship with her partner. She said, I love him, so I always accept his offer with a smile, even when I'm not in the mood. According to her, he began to go with the flow. However, she had no choice but to endure his one-sided desires. I was ashamed of myself because I was unconsciously believing that his approach was a natural way to begin sex. After her confession, I realized the risks of this ideology. Sexual consent, I define it to confirm whether both you and your partner want to engage in sexual intercourse. In Japan, when it comes to sex, we often read between the lines so that we don't ruin the atmosphere, but it causes you to hurt your loved one. So today, I'm going to talk about what sexual consent truly means. This speech is especially for couples and your future partner, regardless of gender or age. A true consent will allow both partners to deepen intimacy without hurting each other. First of all, how do we obtain sexual consent? According to NHK's survey of 1,046 people in their teens to 50s, the top 3 actions that could be considered as consenting to sex are kissing, sleeping in the same room, and going to our partner's house. Yes, our views on this issue might differ. However, can we always be sure that it is consensual with our partner every time? The answer is no. About 1 in 5 women have regretted not refusing their partner's advances, as the study by Nikam SEA survey. If we tempt our partner just based on our perception, we might misinterpret his or her feelings. Actually, my friend couldn't decline her partner's offer because she was afraid of being disliked by him. Then, why do people have different perceptions of sexual consent? It is just because we had never learned about sexual consent in our life. This year, I contacted an organization called Voice of Japan to study sex. Fortunately, I was able to see one of the members at a cafe. First, I asked her, "What perception did you have of sexual consent?" She slowly confessed, "I thought it was normal to have sexual intercourse if we are in a relationship, even if it was painful." Embracing sex because of dating, is that true consent? I thought it was definitely not, but at the same time, it occurred to me that I had no idea what sexual consent meant. Eventually, I stumbled upon a revelation that we didn't actually learn how to begin sex in the first place. Everyone, let me ask you a question. Did you learn about sexual consent in school? Probably not. Looking back my school days, I remember studying features and functions of the body, but I never learned true consent of how to seduce a partner. In 2019, a Professor Yuka Okazaki at Okayama Prefecture University surveyed a total of 229 university students. 64% of males and 71% of females answered that they didn't know about sexual consent. Yes, many people in Japan are ignorant about sexual consent. It makes it difficult to have a common understanding of it. After I realized this fact, I began to participate in many seminars to deepen my understanding of sexual consent. Today, I'd like to share the conclusions that I've reached, which is available options. Both partners have to be able to choose whether to have sex. Our body is not your partner's take. It is mine to give. So we should try to understand each other's feelings. So everyone, use thoughtful words when having sex. First of all, for those who tempt your partner, make the situation such that they are comfortable to decline the offer using thoughtful words. Do you want to do it? It's okay to stop it. Such words are fine. It will open the door for our partner to tell us what they want. For those who are tempted, make your desire clear with thoughtful words, regardless of whether you decline or not. I love you, but I'm not in the mood. This way of speaking will be preferred. Available options are the key to true consent because we can cherish our emotions. Some people may hesitate to convey your feelings by words because worrying about breaking the mood or relationship with our partner. However, it is actually not true. On the contrary, self-disclosure in sex guides you to build a stronger relationship where you can convey your honest thoughts on any topic. This is psychologically proven by Jennifer L. Montesi from Temple University. Not only you, but also your partner will be able to talk more honestly about your family issues, concern for the future, and so on. It can deepen mutual intimacy. Now, I have a precious partner, but I'm not worried because we can strengthen our emotional connection through a true consent. we can talk about even serious issue honestly and get through any situation. Sex is said to be the most intimate act between two people. It requires not just a physical relation, but a deep mental connection as well. Finally, let me ask you this. Which would you choose? An atmosphere which can hurt your partner, or thoughtful words which will build a stronger relationship? Everyone, please make a promise to yourself to gain the true consent, as it will lead to true content. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ikeda. Now we have a question and answer period. Mr. Miller, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ikeda.
Thank you.
So my first question is, I'd like for you to tell us a little bit, just a little bit about the organization called Voice Up Japan.
Yes.
You mentioned you contacted them. What exactly do they do? Also, how do we contact them for more information?
Okay. First of all, the Voice Up Japan is an organization which promotes sex education for everyone. So they actually use SNS such as Twitter or Instagram, and they try to, spread information which is related to sex education. So specifically, what is sexual consent is like, how to use pill and condom or stuff like that. And we can easily contact this kind of organization by using Twitter, Line, just like me.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. And, like you said, relationships and sex are very fundamental, important parts of all of our lives. So why do you think we discuss these things very little with our parents or at school or even with our friends? Why do you think people are so uninformed?
Oh, what are you asking me is about why people are so afraid of talking about this issue.
Yeah, it's sort of a taboo, right? So
Yes.
Why do you think that's true?
Yes, exactly. Actually, the reason why people hesitate to talk about this issue is because most people tend to consider that sex education or talking about sex can be a taboo, can be not appropriate for education. So sex education encourages students to have more sex and sometimes leads to unexpected or undesirable pregnancy, even though there's no proof or evidence for that. Yes, that is the reason for people cannot hesitate to talk about it. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Very good. So if you could decide, sort of, how can I say? If you could decide the curriculum for sex education in schools in Japan, what would you do? What kinds of things do you think should be taught in school?
Okay, if I make such kind of curriculum, I want to teach children or schools in a biology class. Actually in France and Finland, they are educated about sexual education in a biology class, and also they can learn about sexual issues honestly and seriously. So I want to just like other countries in Japan, I want to do I want to make such kind of curriculum in schools, universities. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm from America, and in America, it's similar to Japan. We don't really talk about it or learn about it. So yeah, I understand this problem. In the last 30 seconds, can you quickly tell us some more detail about the research done by Professor Montesi from Temple University?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about her research.
Okay. Actually, he researched 202 students and on the questionnaire. Mm-hmm. So how many conversation do you have when it comes to having sex? What kind of conversation do you have? And also, actually, if people have a lot of conversation with their partner, their relationship has been getting better because actually not just sexual issues, but also other topics, they can talk about it honestly. So that's why these kind of things, yeah, he actually did this kind of research. Yes.
And sorry, was that here or was that in America?
Oh, I'm sorry. It is conducted in United States.
Okay.
Yes.
Sorry, we're out of time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller and Mr. Ikeda. Now is the judging time.
Let us welcome the seventh speaker. The seventh speaker is Ms. Yui Koyano from Sophia University. She will deliver her speech under the title, Glean for Green. Glean for Green. And Ms. Koyano, please unmute, turn on your camera, and take us for a drive.
Sure. Thank you, Master of Ceremonies and honorable judges. And good afternoon, everyone. All of the forests had been charred, and many koalas found seriously were crying. The catastrophic bushfire in Australia killed over 1 billion animals. It was really tragic. Hearing such abnormal news, you would remember that this planet has been in a critical phase. However, such a sense of crisis is really temporary. We rarely consider it in our daily life, and as a result, take no action. If you want to be an eco-friendly person, but you do not know the details and wonder what we should do, this speech would be worth listening to. Today, I'd like to share the idea to get the chance to learn about the environmental problems as a beginning. After my speech, I hope you realize that opportunities to be conscious of green issues are everywhere around you, and their importance. We take our present life for granted. However, as you know, Bailey, it's not correct. Human beings are standing at a fatal turning point now. As a familiar and universal example, let's see the climate change here. If we do nothing at all and the current speed of warming is maintained, what will happen? According to IPCC, the global temperature will increase 1.5 degrees Celsius by 2030 to 2052. 1.5 degrees Celsius. This change seems to be small, but bring about huge impacts. Around the world, extreme heavy rain and flood will be intensified. Hundreds of millions of people will lose their house by the sea level's rise. The world food shortage gets more serious by the poor harvest. Japan, a huge importer of food, is no exception. Doing nothing means that our ordinary life will be threatened easily. Even if you don't realize, the crisis is just around the corner. In order to avoid these impacts, we must reduce 45% of the greenhouse gas emission by 2030 and by 2050, we must reduce it to 0. We have no time to waste at all. Such alarm on the environment is rather common, so you may think I'm sick and tired of hearing the story. In fact, a variety of media like SNS, TV programs, and newspapers feature environmental problems all the time. It is a social trend. However, how about the individual level? Let me do an easy test here. Recently, the United States has rejoined the Paris Agreement, became a hot topic. Paris Agreement is an international accord to combat climate change. This fact is known as a basic knowledge. But do you know how does this agreement work to solve the climate change? What is the difference from the Kyoto Protocol? If you cannot answer it, please reflect yourself again. Did you truly take the importance of such environmental news seriously? Yes, in many cases, we do not truly understand the environmental problems. This prevents us from taking action. So in order to understand the true critical situation of the Earth and put your sense of crisis into action, learning deeper phase of the issue, such as the true meaning of the governmental or individual measures is needed. Having said that, it is difficult for everyone to be conscious of environment anytime. So far, our daily life is almost peaceful and safe. We seldom experience a clear threat of the nature and feel collapse of the earth. Or we can feel relieved by thinking that such crises will never happen until in the far future. However, we must remember that the time limit is less than 10 years. We must change immediately. Then, maybe you want to know what to do. My suggestion is greening. Through taking my university classes, legal studies of the global environment, I realized that it depends on our attitude toward information, whether we can understand the Earth's situation or not. Our daily life is full of chances to learn about green issues. I can often find sources covered by the media that's similar to what I learned in classes. So, I recommend you to start with gleaning, getting information and understanding them by yourself. This is what we can do first. To save our planet. In my case, my first gleaning was attending a symposium. When I was a first-year student, I found a green symposium so that we can hear some specialist public discussion at my university. It was really easy to apply. Also, it was open to all so that not only students, but also other ordinary people like business workers and professors participated. I was nervous at first because of the academic atmosphere, but after hearing the serious and honest specialist discussion, I was strongly realized that how ignorant of that issue I was and changed my point of view. If you feel it is still difficult to do, the small change in your mindset is effective. When you check today's news on your smartphone, stop scrolling and read the environmental articles. Such kind of small action can definitely improve your understanding. There are so many chances around you. Of course, concrete movement is necessary to change the situation, but you cannot do anything without understanding the issue. Do you know the true critical situation of the Earth? If you found through this speech that you know it, but you do not understand it, please remember, this is the matter of our planet and our own future. No one can be exception. Nelson Mandela said, education is the most powerful weapon which we can use to change the world. So let's green for green from now on. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Ms. Koyano. We have a question and answer session. Mr. Miller, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Koyano.
Thank you.
My first question is, how did you first become concerned about the environment?
Yes, thank you for your question. The first event that I want to and care about the environment is that my experience of my childhood. My grandparents is manage the flower shop, and I often help them and learn about the flowers and the natures, and such helping their shops. I feel that such the importance of the environment, and we have to observe such greens. But modern society, our economic activity is damage them a lot. So I want to learn about more and help the natures, and that is the first experience that I want to care about the environment.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. So in America, people your age are very angry and very active about trying to get things like businesses and government to take action with the environment. How about young people, people your age in Japan? What is the general feeling about the environment?
Yes, I heard that the foreign countries like United States students have really positively act for environment, but compared with them, Japanese student is less active for such activity, because I think it is because of the nature of Japanese, moderate and don't like the aggressive activity. But I think each student, if they have a knowledge of environment, they have a sense of crisis in their mind and want to move, and they do their individual activity. So even if they are they do their individual activity, so I think they have a sense of crisis.
Okay, great. Thank you. Also, once people glean the information and they teach themselves about environmental issues, then what's the next step? What should they do after they have the information?
Yes. For example, the fashion industry is a really serious problem for environment because of the great amount of waste. So if you know that information, that fashion industry is a bad effect on environment, you can be careful about the material of clothes when you go to the stores and buy some your favorite clothes. That clothes is coming from the eco-friendly materials, and such kind of checking before buying, checking activity is the first step to action, I think.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. We're out of time, so no more questions. Sorry. Thank you very much, Ms. Koyano.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller and Ms. Koyano. Now is the judging time.
Now, let us welcome the eighth speaker. The eighth speaker is Mr. Kazuma Akita from St. Paul University. He will deliver his speech under the title, What is Death? What is Death? Then Mr. Akita, please unmute and turn on your camera and take us for a drive.
Okay. So thank you, the Master of Ceremonies and honorable judges. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. What is death for you? Maybe it is difficult for you to answer because you haven't ever thought about it seriously. I'm sorry, but please think over what is death. Then we will come to one answer. Death is just fear. We humans are afraid of our death, so some people avoid thinking about it, using their youth as excuses, and some treat thinking about it as taboo. On the other hand, are you going to keep on living the fear of death as it is until you die? If so, a bleak future is waiting for you. I mean that you will die while being frightened of the fear. I guess all of you here want to escape from this future as we can. But what should we do? The answer is to change our point of view on the death. Today, I won't make this speech a trigger for you to think about death, and I hope everyone will make the most of death and be proud of your life. First of all, let me share my experience before I think about death. When I was a high school student, I decided to take a recommendation-based admission because this examination enabled me to enter an elite college. Good job! That's great! Fantastic! People around me celebrated too. However, he was an exception. Who's that? That was myself. Kazuma, are you sure about that? What you want to do is at another college, right? As my inner voice said, I wanted to study tourism at another college, but I was afraid of losing others' expectations. As a result, my decision had been not changed. Have you ever gone against your inner voice like me? Do what you want. We often hear this word. We understand that is important. But it is a reality that we are afraid of losing something like expectations, pride, relationship, and so on. I was also one of them. I couldn't be honest to my heart until that incident happened. One day, I didn't know why, but my mother broke down and cried. So I said, Mom, what's the matter with you? She said, your cousin is told that she has only 3 months to live because of leukemia. I was speechless with grief. However, the next moment, she told me a more surprising fact. Even so, he's not afraid to die, or rather, he tries to live a strong life. So Kazuma, please support him. I was confused by her words, because he was not afraid of his death. A few days later, I visited my cousin in the hospital. He managed to speak, so we had a casual conversation. At the time, I ended up asking him against my will. Don't you afraid to die? But I came to my sense, oh my God, what in the world am I saying? However, the next moment, he answered me with his smile. Even if my days are numbered, I'm not afraid of that because I can be proud of my life. That's why I only think that I'm so happy to be alive. But I didn't understand what he had said. Can I really say that like him, despite my days being numbered? As I was thinking about that, I imagined if today is the last day of my life. Just as expected, terrible fear of dying grew up in my mind. However, at the same time, I realized that death was not just fear, but enabled me to form my heart. Enabled me to form my heart. Why? To make it clear, please imagine if today is the last day of your life. Now I can hear thinking, I've cherished my family, or I haven't declared my love to girlfriend yet, or maybe I have no time to listen to a speech. If really so, I'm so shocked. But on the other hand, we must have been motivated to follow our hearts by thinking about death. It's because if we continue to ignore our inner voices, we will die while being frightened of the fear. And there is nothing scarier than this future. In this way, we can make the use of death to be honest to ourselves. In my case, the fear of my death removed the fear of losing others' expectations. After that, I decided to stop taking recommendation-based admission. Really? What a shame. No way. People around me were disappointed to do. However, my inner voice encouraged me. Kazuma, you can do it. Never give up, because it is what you want to do. No matter what words people say to me, no matter how hard my road was, I could keep running thanks to having a life with death. Finally, I passed the entrance exam for the university of my first choice. And it was the very moment that I could get proud of my life. Now, I understand what my cousin had said. What my cousin had said. Even if my days are numbered, I'm not afraid of that because I can be proud of my life. I will be able to say, I'm so happy to be alive. It is ideal future, isn't it? So everyone, now is the time to make the most of death. For me, death enables me to form my heart. Death makes me get proud of my life. Finally, I want to ask you one question again. What is death for you? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Akita. Now we have a question and answer period. Mr. Miller, please.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I was muted. Sorry. Thank you very much, Mr. Akita.
Thank you for listening.
And let's see. I have many questions. I don't know where to start. Let's start with, you mentioned the experiment that was at the University of Kent. Yeah. Could you give us a little more details about that experiment, especially like why did the students have positive effects? Please.
Okay, and so the students thinking about every day, particularly, and send an email for answering the LVL. And for example, and if today is the last day of your life, what did you do? And this thinking is make the student the value more valuable life is what is more valuable life. And if what is more valuable days? So life, and they can value it, they can value as they life and they days, they life. So the thinking about death, and they think it is important to live and important 2 days later, I think.
Okay. And, you know, like, I think all cultures have a different way of thinking about death. Yeah.
Mhm.
For example, in my country in America, death is a very taboo topic. We do not talk about it, and we're very afraid of it.
Yes, I know.
Whereas in other cultures like Mexico, people are very open about death. It's part of daily conversation. They even joke about it. It's not something that people generally fear. So I'm interested. What do you think the culture in Japan is like about death?
Okay, so the culture of Japan is that is I think in Japan, youth age is not allowed. Not don't Japanese people kill one by myself, and but so I think Japanese people is death is to not that is taboo, but for example, and we can't and choice the youth of Asia. It means that we need to talking about death with family, friends, and also so we can open the talking about death. But youth Asia is not taboo, but talking about is okay, I think, in Japan.
Is it something that you talk about with your family or with your friends?
Yes, so particularly my grandma and grandfather, so when that my grandmother is so high ages, so every year her birthday is I talking about need Tuesday.
Oh, good. Okay, last question, just really quickly. You know, you say death is something that we should talk or think about. But often, you know, if you think about death, you get scared, you get depressed. So do you have some advice about how to not get scared or depressed?
Okay, so thinking about it, maybe some people thinking about it, death is so scared, so too scared. But I think it is the tool of make it your life better. And for example, what you can do, we face what the option what you can do or what you want to do. Is the we tend to choose the what we can do, but it's brave. Death makes us the brave have a brave to what we want to do, and death makes our life is so beautiful. So don't afraid to think about death, and I'm sure that it makes us our life so better. So I want you to think about this.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Akita. We're out of time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mila and Mr. Akita. Now is the judging time.
Now, prepared speech session is all over. The distinguished judges and questioner will leave this session to decide the winners of this contest. Please give them a big round of applause. Next, the speakers will leave this session. We would like to open the closing ceremony at 4:55. So please be seated by 4:50. Thank you.
日本語にて失礼いたします。これより1時間20分間の休憩といたします。コメントシートの提出につきましては、この休憩時間中にお済ませいただきますよう、よろしくお願いいたします。なお、現在画面に、失礼いたしました。そうです。失礼いたしました。現在画面に表示しております QR コードからも、提出フォームの方にアクセスできるようになっておりますので、そちらから、アクセスしご提出いただきますようよろしくお願いいたします。今から、プリペアドスピーチの部終了後も数分間は、こちらの QR コードを表示したままにしておきますので、お早めに、読み取っていただきますようよろしくお願いいたします。また、大会をご視聴中の皆様に申し上げます。本大会は当初の予定よりスムーズに進行しておりますが、閉会式につきましては、もともとお伝えしておりました通り、16時55分より開始いたします。5分前の16時50分までにご着席いただきますようよろしくお願いいたします。また、YouTube 配信につきましては、午前中と同様、一度配信の方を停止させていただきます。16時50分頃に再開いたしますので、それまでにお戻りくださいませ。また、クロージングセレモニーから YouTube の配信 URL の方も変更となっております。こちらにつきましては、Twitter および Instagram にリンクを掲載いたしますので、ご確認くださいませ。ありがとうございました。